CANTO has been a leading authority in Caribbean telecommunications for over 3 decades, shaping information and communications technology by bringing together stakeholders from throughout the Caribbean and the world. Tempo has brought you CANTO from Aruba, Suriname, and the Bahamas. In 2015, CANTO addresses the persistent digital divide from the USA's own Caribbean crossroads, Miami. This year's theme, improving lives through broadband innovation, making broadband affordable, connecting homes, and getting people online.
We're in the Caribbean, and we brought the Caribbean to Miami. We work hard and we party hard.
What is CANTO? CANTO represents the Caribbean from telecom's ICT perspective.
What that means is that everybody who has an interest in ICT, communications, telecommunications, has an interest in CANTO. More particularly, anyone in the Caribbean region who has an interest in ICT. That's our membership, that's our stakeholders. So from the users to the manufacturers.
And one of the reasons CANTO was established was simply so that the telecommunication organizations, which were national telecommunication organizations when it started back in 1985, one of the rationales was that there was no single voice speaking for the Caribbean. The whole idea was to get the 40 million people of the Caribbean saying the same thing to a global forum like the ITU, that it will be all harmonized for the decision-making process. So we started with prior to CANTO, there was no such thing.
CANTO is an important meeting place for the entire industry. It is a forum that was developed by the businesses that are operating in the region, but it has now become an important forum and a marketplace, even if you will, for suppliers to the industry, for regulators, for policymakers like myself.
I particularly enjoyed the opportunity to speak at CANTO today because it is a forum where I was able to reach not only the operators with whom we have very strong partnerships on a daily basis, but also some of the regulators and the people at government that are working to ensure that every single one of their citizens gets connected and gets the benefits associated with that.
It's important because it's the only vehicle where operators can come together seeking common ground and taking those to the regulators, taking those to the ministers. Otherwise, we'll all be running around trying to push our own agendas. It's always better when you come together.
The board has approved a new vision and mission. Our vision to become the leading authority in shaping information, communication and technology in the Caribbean and the Americas. Our mission to influence the innovation and development of ICT solutions for the benefit of members by developing, navigating and leveraging relationships with all stakeholders. Our mission is to advocate for policies, legislation and rules which advance the creation of an environment that facilitates the development of services and technologies across the region.
If I look at the board of CANTO, it's amazing. We've got, for a start, we've got 5 ladies, so we've got more ladies than we have men, and I think that's wonderful.
And it also shows how many more women are involved in ICT, in decision-making positions, so there has been significant change.
What we seek to do at CANTO for women and girls in ICT is just to make them more aware of careers that are there in ICT. We have lots of trailblazers. I mean, our Secretary General is a woman. Rahini's tenure was unique. She came at a time when CANTO needed a boost, and she did that very well. We were able to double membership in just 3 short years, and that's like our flagship. She has done a remarkable job leading us into this era and positioning us where we are right now to take our next step.
I have been with CANTO for 11 years, and the board has been always very supportive. We always have 2 or 3 women on the board, but at this time we have 50% women, 50% men, and that makes me feel very good. I think it may have several reasons. There are different initiatives that are being undertaken in the ICT sector to encourage women to join the sector, to seek high-level positions, and to stay in those positions. And the second thing is that women are graduating at a higher rate from college than men. And the third reason may be that because CANTO started quick, Caribbean women in ICT. It is the 3rd year in a row that we are talking about it formally into the CANTO session. So I believe that may have had an impact on that also.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. A warm welcome to all of you joining us at the 31st Annual Conference and Trade Exhibition today. I especially thank the CANTO chairman and his team of inviting me to say a few words on behalf of Huawei Technologies at this conference. We are very happy for the opportunity to be the headline sponsor of this event. This is our 4th year as a sponsor, and we are proud to continue to support the goal of CANTO conference and as for this year to provide a better understanding of the ICT sector in the Caribbean, particularly progress with the broadband rollout, and discuss and find the real solution of improving lives through broadband innovation in this region.
We're now improving lives because each individual has it, but in addition, the way business works and it's totally changed, and the way you go about improving your business models, whatever, are very much dependent on communications. And businesses create jobs. So however you look at it, communication is a big part of the way lives are changing.
The Caribbean has more than 7,000 islands, and they are isolated between each other, geographically speaking. So too are the people who live on them. Nevertheless, we now embrace a new era of global innovation powered by the far-reaching connectivity. At Huawei, we believe that broadband connectivity inspires and satisfies the emotional needs of people. The human need to connect by communication is just a tip of iceberg.
Cause I ain't that the party and all the fun. Bacchanal good never done. We dance party on the sun. Cause I ain't that carnival Monday, Tuesday. I on the road for Juve. Anyway, woman is a day.
Broadband provides an equalizer to the economic playing field. I accept that it results in the democratization of invention. As the Honorable Dr. Mansour once told you, and I quote, "Anyone with a high-speed broadband connection and a credit card can be anything they want to be," end quote. Certainly it will be an indictment on us all if 3 years from now, CANTO is still debating the way forward for enriching the lives of Caribbean nationals through broadband deployment.
It's the youth that's really having the innovation when it comes to broadband. They're the ones that develop the apps that really you can see the benefit of it. So we've decided that the innovation part of it, we're going to use our Caribbean youngsters to push that forward. It's really very, very exciting, I must admit. Almost the best part of CANTO. I've enjoyed the session. We had the hackathon, 5 teams, 2 from Belize, 2 from Suriname, and 1 from Jamaica. It's just amazing to see these guys develop an app in 48 hours with no sleep.
This is the first year CANTO is having such an event. Hack it, crack it, code it. These are the 3 partners involved, CANTO, PyData, and Domo Simu Sankos. We send out the applications, we send out the information only to the Caribbean and only to people between the age of 18 to 35. And so we had like 13 teams and we selected 5 teams.
And these teams had for around 10 days to figure it out and program on IBM's Bluemix Cloud. And then they had 48 hours to come here and polish it up. And to be able to learn it in basically 16 days, it was tremendous. That is a huge learning curve to get over. And the fact that they were able to do that shows that they're world-class developers. And we said that you all had to use the IBM Watson tool set because it was artificial intelligence, and we wanted to get the teams to use it, that tool set, to basically bring them into some state-of-the-art tools so they could be one of the few people in the world who are programming on this platform.
When we see the publications by the various international bodies, I don't believe that sufficient credence is given to what we have been able to achieve in the Caribbean. We have achieved in Barbados 100% fiber to the home, and throughout the region we see the infrastructure being developed, yet we are still not at the top of the pack. And this has a significant impact on how investors view the Caribbean. And I think there has to be a concerted effort, and this is where CANTO can assist us, because you do have a project. This is one aspect of your work which is very useful and beneficial, and why I still support CANTO.
The reality is, almost all of us are from countries that for the last decade or so have experienced very weak, very anemic economic growth, have high levels of unemployment, particularly among our young people, are struggling to finance development. The ICT sector really can play a pivotal role in transforming the economic fortunes of our countries. We see the ICT sector as one to which youth naturally gravitate. You don't have to convince them, you don't have to coerce them, they're already in it. They can now not just download YouTubes by Rihanna and Vibes Cartel, but can put their own stuff on the internet. They see themselves as content providers and not just consumers of content, and that is so extremely important.
We have to make the commitment, I think, at the governmental level, and pass it on to the operators, that the Caribbean cannot lag or the developed world in this matter. We have to have the same minimum standards, at least, as the developed world has.
You cannot expect governments whose economic condition is anemic to settle for 41.1% broadband penetration when we are told by the ITU that increasing broadband can account for 3.6 to 4% growth in GDP. If someone could show me that I can increase positively employment in my country and get a return on the investment that the central government would make to make it happen, then obviously it is a logical outcome to such a recommendation.
What oil was to the 19th century, that is what broadband is to the 21st century. And so it's really the crude oil, it's really the currency of the 21st century. And what broadband does, depending upon the speed, if someone has access to a 30 megabit circuit, that person could see down the road. If someone has download speeds of 150 megabits, that person could not only see down the road, but they could see around the corner. And so to get Caribbean National to the position where they could see around the corner becomes important.
Governments are beginning to recognize that. Certainly the ministers that I met here, they're all keen to see more investments in telecoms and ICT, because they realize in our relatively small economies that that's what's going to lift our economies. But bringing in more investment in telecoms, we're going to see better GDP, better growth.
You can swim against the current, or you can either look for solutions whereby you go with the current. To go with the current, you need to inspire innovation. And to inspire innovation, you need youngsters, and you have to build and create the ecosystem that is necessary to have innovative people and to have creators and to have young entrepreneurs. The market should be beyond the boundaries of the Caribbean, but where it's produced should be in the Caribbean. So our focus should be, what can we produce in the Caribbean that can be used worldwide?
One of the things we always say is content is king. And when you look at the content that we are viewing in the Caribbean, in isolation, most of that content is from the US, it's from the UK, it's from Canada. So one of the key things is creating content that we will watch. We cannot be afraid of what our content is. We have to start with seeing the value in our content. And when we see the value in our content, we will actually grow that content.
These things have to go simultaneously. Accelerate the development of broadband and penetration and the development of the content. Hope they go hand in hand. By the time we're ready, people have access, they will have the content to use and to share with each other and outside of the region.
Knowledge, and that goes into content, is the most important thing. People should be able to access knowledge. If you're talking about video or whatever tool, for me, once again, those are tools. That's not the eureka, it's what you get through them.
I think the only way we will be able to see that if we develop it ourselves and make sure that they get on the applications that we develop also. CANTO has started here, the hackathon where solutions will be developed, and we have to develop more content of what is happening in the Caribbean so that we can share it with each other and with other parts of the world.
So we have an icon, we have a Bob Marley, who has created a reggae culture, a musical culture around our country. We also have sports that is also a facilitator of other nations learning about us. And there's a cultural aspect in even the kind of sports that we're involved in. There is the culture associated with food. There's a culture associated with dance. So there has to be a policy around it, or else it is just disparate parts of the industry that are not properly managed and not properly funded. Because the question is, how does government monetize the cultural and creative industries? So what is being put in place is, one, policies around it, the legislation that's governing it, looking at things like data protection, privacy, and development of our intellectual property. The Caribbean islands there has been a taking of a step back to say, who are we really? Why do people even come to visit us? Why do tourists come? There's something that's more than just the sand and sea that is here. But are we really capturing that? Are we creating the correct policies around it, the correct legislation, so that the country is able to develop, but also that our economies are able to grow from it?
I mean, it's all about the local discussion. We do have such experience in Europe market. And personally, I worked in US before. I have such an experience with some of the producers like HBO or ABC, but we don't have such experience in Caribbean so far. Probably that's the next step.
just at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the services that are being offered on mobile devices and when someone has an internet connection. Take, for instance, WhatsApp. 2 or 3 years ago, probably most of the people listening to this interview didn't have WhatsApp. Now you wouldn't go a day without it. Think about Waze. Even my mother, who is in her 70s, has downloaded Waze and uses it to get to places like new restaurants that I recommend her to go to. And there's a million services out there that we still have no idea what they are, but you can bet that they are coming.
My name is Yuri Liu. I'm part of Team Adept from Suriname.
Hi, my name is David Nesbeth. I'm from Jamaica and I'm representing Team Jamrock. Biggest challenge so far, we have a task where we're supposed to find positive and negative articles about the candidates, because the whole project was based off of the 2016 election.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this quick session, Caribbean Women in ICT session. My job this morning is to give you an update on what we have done since the launch of Quick last year at CANTO 2014. And to take you a little bit back, we had the first Caribbean Women in ICT Forum in 2013. So we have initiated activities for the past 3 years. In 2013, we had the first forum, and last year, in 2014, we launched this Caribbean Women in ICT group. What have we done since then? Since then, and terms of reference for this group is, for the time being, bringing together Caribbean women and men, of course, and to look at how we can empower these women by using ICTs.
I try always to get young people on board in the things that we're doing, because that's the best way to learn. You have to walk with someone who has done the things already, and you can be critical. You don't have to do it the same way, but at least you trespass the knowledge.
We believe that everybody has to help to the development of programs as the ones we help, and gear towards the digitalization of the different services that we have both in public sector as private sector. Of course, we are aware of the necessity of consistency, continuity, and inclusiveness. I call on every person present today, don't leave this conference without a personal commitment to do so.
That I think is very important is, as was mentioned by Mendel, the mentoring of women and the mentoring of young girls, because we have to enter into a socialization that we are not so surprised by the success of our girls.
Sometimes the most important debilitating factor is what we feel about ourselves. So sometimes it is our self-limiting beliefs that most limit the path we can grow towards, and not necessarily someone who says absolutely no way can you pass over this line. So even though I'm an aerospace engineer myself and entrenched within the field of ICTs. I felt a fill up from it, and my hope is that that reverberated throughout the audience.
The discussion is not a gender discussion that women can just gather in a room alone and have this discussion. Some of my greatest mentors have been men. Men are fathers to daughters, and that conversation of empowerment that says you can be anything you want to be. And it may not be in ICT, it could be just about anything you want to be. That conversation it doesn't just come from women, it also comes from men. So it is that balanced gender discussion that we really need to be having. And I think this was a very good forum today for us to open that discussion. It was funny how many men were in there, which was very important because we can't have that conversation alone as women.
And I find it very important that people educate themselves. So I think that through internet, you can have a lot more of education than we used to be able to have, because you can study, for example, in your own time. So in my view, the better educated the people are, and internet for me is a tool, the better the country will go, because the people will be educated to make good choices and to guide the country in a good direction.
We as women in this sector and at this level have to look for ways on how to get them there, to support them to go to the highest level of the organization, and it will benefit our families. It will benefit our communities, it will benefit organization, and it will benefit the country.
With regard to Quick and Connecting the Caribbean, I hope that throughout the little conversation that I've had with you, you've been able to see issues where Quick can fit in, but just a quick snapshot, mentoring, of course, networking opportunities, which I think we've started here in the last 3 years. Quick will provide a space for discussion of critical issues as we go forward and help to gather data, which is so necessary in the region, and to disseminate information as well. Hopefully, as we get older and more mature, create jobs, help young and emerging women in entrepreneurship, help to monitor and participate in local, regional and global women's initiatives and so on. So we hope that Quick will continue to grow from strength to strength.
We hardly had any women in CANTO. Now, well, they're dominating the board. I'm sure maybe the next chairman will be a chair lady. So that's a significant change, and I think really important.
What we really seek to do with the Women in ICT Forum is just to showcase that women can do it too, and they can do it well.
It is my pleasure now to introduce to you the chairman of CANTO and the director of BCRC, who will be signing the memorandum of understanding.
Next to climate change, e-waste is probably the biggest environmental challenge facing the world as more and more used and end-of-life electrical and electronic equipment end up in uncontrolled dump sites in developing countries in Africa, Asia, and in India, transferred there from the developed and wealthier developing countries by small-scale service providers under the guise of recycling. These small-scale service providers are essentially waste brokers and breach the legal provisions of the Basel Convention as a matter of course. Good corporate governance principles and practices require you to have oversight of the entire life cycle of the products you sell. And this take-back system will be a first step in keeping eyes on used and end-of-life cellular phones bearing your brand name. Our journey with CANTO in this short period of time has been one in which a solid working relationship has been developed between the two parties, culminating today in the signing of this memorandum of understanding between our two organizations. This MOU will allow the BCRC Caribbean to assist CANTO and its members in implementing the various systems developed for control and management of e-waste here in the Caribbean,
and which are already practiced by many of the manufacturers present here at this conference in other parts of the world. And I really want to thank you for providing the expertise in highlighting and raising the awareness of CSR issues. My company, Digicel, has recently launched a take-back program in 23 of our Caribbean islands and in Central America. And of course, this is allowing us to dispose of old handsets in the correct environmentally friendly way.
My name is Stephen Ma. I'm leading Huawei Caribbean office. We've been established since 1987, humbly in China, starting from scratch. And we're trying to catch up the whole industry. And with the dynamic change of the whole industry, we are serving 3 business groups today, which is carrier, enterprise, and consumer. Our vision is to building a better connected world. We invest heavily in R&D every year, averagely about 10% every year, but last year was 14%. Today we are operating in more than 170 countries global-wise, and last year we ranked a 228th position in the top 500 company in the world. In Caribbean, in my office, we have 6 offices across in the country. We have Panama, we have Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, we have Dominicana, and we have Cuba. Also, we have Bahamas. So we are making sure that we are like one call away, like half an hour driving away to the customers. Once they have the requirement, we'll be on time. We'll be response in the first time. We are engaging in building the national broadband program for every single country, trying to raise the penetration for broadband dramatically. We have a lot of programs. We call it like Global Genius Program. We hire or we got the top talents from different places and send them back to China and send them to talk with the other operators to train the local talents for the ICTs for the countries, which they could help the country to raise the level of development and to eliminate digital divide. Digital divide, yes, is still there, but again, we're talking the world is flat. It's flatter than before. It's flatter and flatter. This is a big ecosystem, and this is a big community. Everybody is connected. If we're not close enough, we'll never know what exactly they need, what exactly they're expecting. So that's why, we've been joining these events for, several consecutive years. We're trying to get exactly what the requirement is and trying to meet the requirement. It takes a lot of fortune to take an international call. And you cannot really see each other. But today with a much better built broadband infrastructure, you can make a FaceTime, you can make any video call with your family, no matter where they are, and you can reach them in like 1 second. And this is the value of being built of the great infrastructure.
A gathering like CANTO can be very useful in bringing all stakeholders together, because when the economies of our countries improve and we now start seeing 7, 8, 9, 10% growth, all of these questions that you have now and you're worried about declining revenue, they start disappearing.
Within the taxi cables, we have made tremendous strides in ICTs. We're working with the operators, and we've recently, launched the LTE service. And a part of that launch was we were able to negotiate with the operators to provide internet Wi-Fi services to all the public schools.
We're doing similar projects. We'll be launching some 1.8 million EC dollars, and it will mainly be grant funding. Up to 120,000 EC dollars is the cap for any one particular proposal. And it's really to encourage the youths to be entrepreneurs. Actually, we are mindful that most of our youth in the Caribbean consume and not create. So we are looking at projects that will allow them to earn, so that it takes some of the pressure off us for providing jobs.
We are doing quite a bit in Grenada for ICT, because we recognize that it is the future, and most of the jobs would be coming through ICT. We are using the Universal Service Fund to put labs in school. We have the CASI program, which is a $10 million US fund, the fiber that would be linking St. Vincent to Grenada. So that fund would be doing that. It's based also on a PPP, so we would be looking to see which partners would be coming to do that project.
We have over 150 hotspots throughout St. Vincent. 107 schools, community centers, certain beaches and so forth, where persons can have access to broadband internet.
We have 200 miles of economic extended zone, and our fishermen go out to sea very often, and therefore the telephone service that they have is very vital to communicating back to shore, specifically in regards to safety and so forth. So our operators have done a very good job in Ecuador of providing the services that can extend several miles offshore.
Our perspective is we host a gaming conference every year where most of those gamers, those people that compete in different areas of the world come to the island, and that is also heavily supported by government and our regulatory body to encourage the economic part of the gaming world in the form of a conference. So I think those are areas that have helped us in getting the youth involved, and also showing that from an economic perspective that the country can benefit from as well.
There's 65% of the jobs that will be around in 2020 has not yet been invented. And that all comes from the democratization of broadband. It's the speed. In this business today, if you blink, you're in the past. By the time you blink your eyes, the future has passed by. You cannot afford to take the present into the future, because by the time you get there, it's the past. Today is the tomorrow we thought about yesterday.
Oh, 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 what makes a good man? Oh, 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 what makes a good man? Oh, oh, oh.
So my name is Rajiv, and I'm part of Team Aptastic, and we come from the wonderful country Suriname.
I'm Dair Aban. I'm representing Coded, and I'm from Bliss. Well, I'm a little bit tired because yeah, I've been over 24 hours without sleep.
My face might look a little bit tired because I feel like I was hacking too for 3 days long. What these guys have done throughout the 3-day process, the 2-day process, non-stop exchanging shifts and working side by side to create something is definitely something that is of great value.
My name is Ricardo Guardia. I'm a principal consultant for Ericsson across Latin America. At Ericsson, we have a vision that we call the Network Society. And the Network Society is based on when one person connects, their life changes. And when everything gets connected, the world changes. And what we are doing at Ericsson is enabling that connectivity in order to make sure that we as individuals and the societies that we live in can benefit from all of the opportunities that are brought by that connectivity. We're behind everything that is related to communications and the internet. So we work with your service provider, be it your mobile phone company, your fixed phone company, your internet service provider, or even your cable TV provider, in order to provide them with technologies that allow them to deliver their services according to consumers' ever-evolving needs and appetite for better communication and more entertainment. what we're seeing in the Caribbean is pretty much what we're seeing all over the world. There is an insatiable appetite for data speed, data quality, connectivity, and so forth.
Ericsson is very committed to the Caribbean market. As an example of this, we just opened a new office in Miami. We are bringing more people to the region in order to best support you guys.
One of the things for telecoms companies is the broadband infrastructure that you need for penetration is actually very costly. So there's a lot of capital outlay for that. So one of the things telecom companies ask for are the concessions that facilitate the build out of these networks. It also requires, and that's why operators ask for this level playing field, that after having built out these networks, the regulations are not just on the network operators.
There has to be some cooperation between the private sector as well as between the governments of the region, so that we could form a private sector, public sector partnership. So, let's get the 3 Ps sitting down inside the same room with the same objective, with the same vision, and find out how we can make that work. And I think that's where CANTO plays a role, bringing those 3 Ps together in the same room, and let's say, what is the best thing here for the 40 million people of the Caribbean? Through this partnership, private, public, and bring the P in, the partnership.
Bring some intense into my life. You are the reason of
my name is David Urbina. I'm from Belize, and my team is Team Data Side. It's been a variety of emotions. At the beginning, was super exciting, and right about now it's kind of toning down, kind of getting a little closer to the timeline, so it's getting more serious.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So guess what, guys? The hackathon is officially over.
Welcome all of you all to the CANTO Code 1.0 competition. 5 teams gathered under one roof to compete, and today they are going to be presenting their demos to you.
I am representing Team Beta Side. We are from the beautiful Jude, Belize. It's a platform that we have. It's artificial intelligence. This is stuff that you saw in movies 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but now it's right here and it's right now, and it is working. What we had to do is, in this hackathon, we had to predict the 2016 presidential elections for the United States.
Our immediate approach to solve this challenge was to build a native Android application. Native because, hey, you get the purest experience possible, and for a hacker's point of view, we can push the phones to its limit.
So, what is this competition about? For us, and what it meant for Team Jamrock was using artificial intelligence to help shape the world. Is the way forward. How can I provide data that will help this person live a better life, have a better life, and just overall improve the quality of life? It's about giving you information before you even ask for it.
I'm Giovanni Sido, representing Team Adapt. We're representing Suriname. We built an app where you could just go to the website and find out who's running. What are the names, what are their backgrounds, whether they go to school, when were they born, just short bio so you know who's who.
So we are Team Coded from Belize. We start spending the first hours just trying to figure out what can we put, how can we present the information in such a way that everybody will be in touch, that everybody will be engaged.
We've had the great pleasure of spending time with CARICOM. Thanks again for giving us the opportunity. We are an existing partner and supplier to CARICOM and to most, if not all, of the countries represented in this room. I started with a thank you, and we do genuinely mean that. We have been briefed on the ambition for CARICOM to establish a single ICT space around the region, and we're absolutely supportive.
You need to be connected to the internet. You need to be connected to the internet regularly, at speeds that are satisfactory to you, to do what it is that you need to accomplish. And there can definitely be an improvement in your life if you are in fact connected to a connected world.
This is a big event. We could see everybody and talk with everybody, listen to everybody to see what exactly can I do for you. But next step is the innovation, not only from the solution perspective, but also from the business perspective. I mean, we are talking a lot from the, public-private partnership. We're talking a lot about serving the smaller island, small populated area, but how to make this happen is a topic in front of us. So we are talking proactively with our partners, all the operators across the islands and countries. We're trying to find the right path to make one step forward. I think that's the key for next step, because this is the only way that we can serve the local citizens and local markets in the best way.
Third place goes to the team all the way from Belize, Venezuela. Second place goes out to the team all the way from the land of the free, Team Belize, Team Tony. Moment of truth. First place winner. Team Jamrock!
Why Jamaica stood out? Jamaica, their presentation was very polished. They addressed all of the questions during the presentation. They were able to walk people through what they were trying to accomplish. And the fact that they went above and beyond by showing that their platform was scalable by saying, okay, here's the United States elections we're doing, which is part of the question, but here is Trinidad elections, and you can do any elections anywhere in the world with this. And so I felt that their application was the most ready to go live and probably be monetized.
I can say that all the teams did very well, and the Team Jamrock stood out, and for standing up in the crowd, they get a plaque for first place. I'd like to give it to the team leader.
When you put Caribbean people together to solve a problem, because they have to overcome adversity, because they got to drive 3 hours to get to work, and because they don't have running water and electricity all the time, because they don't have access to the things that people have access to in the United States, their mentality is different. Their approach is different. And what you saw today was 5 teams really taking on and taking action and solving a problem in a unique way.
All of them were so different. That creative thinking. We've got some really intelligent people in the Caribbean that can compete with anywhere. We want everybody to have access to the internet, everybody to to benefit from broadband. That's the you know, the ultimate goal.
Telephone company was more of a utility. Now if you think of communications now, it's pretty well everyone has some sort of smartphone or whatever else, and lives are starting to revolve around the things that people are carrying with them. Mobility is important. So in one sense, we're now improving lives because each individual has it. But in addition, the way business works and it's totally changed, and the way you go about improving your business models, whatever, are very much dependent on communications. And businesses create jobs. So however you look at it, communications is a big part of the way lives are changed.
Telecoms companies are moving away from just being engineering companies to actually being sales and marketing companies. So the CANTO exhibition, for example, brings together a wide range of exhibitors, because rather than building your own network now, you'll probably outsource that to a company that's their core function. So what you're finding is that ICT is moving away from network operators doing everything for themselves to a more collaborative kind of thing where things are outsourced and network operators focus more on sales and marketing, which in the scheme of things is that ICT, sure is.
How do you get people trying to solve a problem that exists through technology? And I think that's innovation. Being able to always be on the cutting edge, being able to always think outside the box.
I definitely want is that the Caribbean is looked at as a single ICT space. The idea is not from me, it's from the CARICOM, but I have studied it, and I wish that we as a Caribbean ICT stakeholder will pick up the idea and work at it and make the Caribbean a single ICT, which will have a lot of impact and benefits for all of us. The last thing I want to say is that I'm leaving CANTO in a good place. I'm leaving CANTO and maybe at the right time even. It can get better than what it is now. I really have experienced it CANTO 2015. So, and I'm happy that I'm able to leave the organization and as a stable, productive organization. So, and I wish CANTO the best. I will stay involved so that it can grow further than it is now.
As one region, our culture is rich. Our culture is rich, our talent is rich, and this gives us an opportunity to bring everything out to the rest of the world for them to take notice.